Hello and welcome to week 3 of Kaiser and Torsion Talk Politics. Kaiser, would you like to say
Hello?
hello?
Oh, hello.
So, how are you doing today, Kaiser?
I'm doing rather well, and you?
Pretty good. So, as always, we'll start with our good friends in the trade triumvirate, which is now a trade duopoly, I guess we could say. Great Britain, Ireland, and the Netherlands. Want to give our listeners a update on what happened here in the last session?
Alright, so Ireland, I'd say prematurely, exodus themselves to Canada, and they're now playing a Canadian nation, and they made sure to give themselves subsidies first and all that crap. But yeah, Ireland has made an exodus, and Great Britain's soldiers are on the border of Ireland.
So, it looks like the AI has already removed those subsidies. They did not
Already?
take loans to start
No, no, no.
construction.
Ireland is paying. Wait, yeah, they're
Oh yeah,
paying Canada.
Ireland is paying Canada. Yep, sorry, apologies. 10 ducats or 8 ducats, 7, whatever. But one thing you can do as a colonial nation or a colonizer is take out a ton of ducats to put your country into bankruptcy, but build manufactories in your colonial nation and release before. So,
I don't
premature
see
by
that
Canada,
done.
but I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to be too big of a deal because there is not a lot of competition in that region right now for other colonial nations.
I mean, the Dutch and the British are down there. If we're going to maintain a friendship, then yes, there's no competition. But uh, Ireland did kind of screw over Holland, as I heard in the Discord chat when everybody was talking and stuff. Because Holland was giving them like 4 ducats a month in exchange for Cornwall, and then Ireland left to become Canada before they handed over Cornwall.
That'll be interesting to see what happens between the Netherlands and Great Britain moving forward. Netherlands was able to get their personal union over Burgundy. Bavaria made a few sneaky plays on that, separating out a few different states before the PU was established, and then before the relationship could be repaired between Holland and Burgundy, their heir died, so they had to reinforce the PU, during which time Milan was able to steal the state of Burgundy. So while Holland is still looking quite powerful, sitting at 330 dev plus Burgundy, not as strong as they could have been. Great
Yeah, and
Britain, on
that's
the
really
other
just
hand, cruising, 460 dev, 420 just themselves, strong income, a few colonies coming up. Do you sense any tension between Great Britain and Holland or the Netherlands?
I don't see any right now, but I do see Great Britain coming back towards the mainland. So if they do want, say, Calais or any of those vital trade provinces, and maybe they want all those trade themselves, then there will be contention. But I don't see any at the moment. The only thing that I see for Netherlands is their neighbors in the east, Bavaria being snaky like that and taking out chunks of Burgundy. That's not very friendly. So you're gonna have to watch out for that.
And it is important to note Bavaria, strongest economy in the game right now, number 4 on the Great Powers list, so a force to be reckoned with for anyone in Europe. Rotating up towards our Scandinavian brethren, our Norwegian Slurfen and our Swedish Holy Victor. We've got Orthodox Zealots about to enforce their demands, so that's going to be a very powerful Sweden moving forward. Norway, as we've seen, has made extensive gains in the Texas Mexico area. Any thoughts?
These are definitely great games in that region. Because if you look at freaking Norwegian Texas, that's like 36 ducats of income right there. That's a lot of power.
36
And
ducats, and most of that gold's being sent away in treasure fleets anyway.
yeah,
So, tremendous opportunity for Slurfin when he makes the transition. Not to mention, there's still an additional 7 gold mines that he hasn't yet taken from the Aztecs.
Yeah, so we're gonna see a very rich Texas.
How do you feel about how Sweden and the Livonian Order are doing? Do you think they're consolidating the Russian territories quickly enough?
I see Livonia doing a good job with their consolidation of Poland, but I don't see Sweden going into Russia that quickly. I see Georgia going up north really fast and making excessive gains almost how many provinces from Moscow? Two provinces from Moscow, or three provinces from Moscow now. Uh, whereas Sweden has made kind of very little change since we last saw them last session. Now, keeping in mind that Livonia is owned by Sweden, we can technically count those gains as Swedish.
One thing to note,
But
Sweden, current emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. That will change quite quickly once he converts to Orthodox, but did give him a nice little manpower and force limit boost, which he is taking full advantage of. But as you mentioned, Georgia has entered the Novgorod trade node. I know Holy Victor likes his trade node borders clean. Do you see conflict brewing there?
possibly, I did hear maybe a bit of a surprise um, in Sweden earlier, and I don't know. Maybe there might be conflict, there might not, but judging how Sweden has very slowly expanded into Russia, I'm kind of guessing not.
And as we take a look at Georgia, they did have a strong session, recovering well from the previous wars with Moldova, but economy still on the weaker side, tech a little bit behind. I don't think they could challenge Sweden just yet. Maybe they're positioning themselves for a push east into Uzbek, Perm, and those regions.
Yeah, I definitely say their economy is still kind of struggling, but they've made great territorial gains. It doesn't help that such territories aren't very high dev, and kind of all of his expansions are kind of lesser dev. But if he decides to go north and maybe contest this land that Sweden uh, lays claim over, then he will have the rich Russian lands. So we'll see how that unfolds.
Other changes in the Middle East include Ajam becoming Persia and Byzantium consolidating their gains over AQ. What are your thoughts around the potential conflicts between this new Persian Byzantium border that has sprung up over the last week?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. I see Byzantium snaking out there towards a historical rival, Persia and Rome. Um, I don't know. That's really snaky not to be aggressive. Like, why would he snake all over there whenever he can go into say Mushasha or one of these better dev lands or these European stuff? Which actually he has been going into. He's just been expanding everywhere, but
He is
there'll
quite a bit
probably be
stronger
contention
than
there.
Persia,
This is true.
and we do know that that Persian trade node can be fed directly into Aleppo and onwards into Constantinople if so desired.
I say strategically, Persia definitely has the advantage though, just because the uh, little choke point here with the mountain fort. But definitely Byzantium is much stronger.
So you say
Oh,
that
oh wait, never
Byzantium could
mind.
also put up
They
some forts in those mountains.
yeah, they sneaked into the Yerevan. I forgot Yerevan had a fort.
Yep. So maybe Byzantium's just making sure they've got a defensible position against Persian aggression. Maybe they're looking to move further towards that silk. We'll see in coming weeks. Shifting back to Italy, or Europe, I should say. Italy had quite a shake-up this past session. Obviously, Savoy, no longer a player, carved up by Milan as expected, with a little bit going to the Papal State. Florence taking advantage of instability in the region, swooping in on AI Kingdom of Jerusalem. Are we seeing things solidify in Italy, or is next week going to be a big push for Milan?
I think we're seeing things fairly solidify. We didn't see any aggression this time, maybe just because Naples wasn't here, or because they had to recover from Savoy leaving. But Florence and Milan are both thriving economically, and for Florence, it doesn't seem to make any sense to want to go to war, just because they're in a point of they're thriving right now on peace and trade. If they went to go take over Milan, that would be a costly war, and it just wouldn't have very many benefits. So I think it's going to stay fairly stagnant, at least between Florence and Milan.
And it's interesting that you mentioned Florence's economic prowess. They're currently running two colonies in the New World, both in the Caribbean region. Are you surprised that none of our colonial players have moved towards the Ivory Coast at this point?
Uh, Not really surprised. Just it's kind of like why not? But we do see one of these African nations actually doing it before the Europeans do, which I am surprised about that. Loango going and colonizing that stuff.
Yep, AI doing what the players cannot.
So maybe the players are just waiting for Loango to go and colonize that stuff and then go and take it from them. Who knows?
Maybe, maybe.
But I have heard from Holland that they're just trying to go around South Africa and get as quick as they can slingshot up east. So they might come back later.
Interesting. And shifting back to Iberia, our other player, Granada, quite a bit larger now than they were last week, consolidating both the Savoy and Castilian lands. When will we get Andalusia, Kaiser?
I'd say next session we're probably going to get Andalusia. I think they're in a strong position to take out Morocco now. Um, Morocco are allied with. Oh, actually, they're allied with Morocco. Hmm.
Correct.
That can break though, so could be temporary.
Morocco is allied with the Mamelukes, and while the Mamelukes were hobbled by the initial crusade, the loss of the Kingdom of Jerusalem has put the Mamelukes back on top in the Middle East from an AI perspective. Naples being a AI this past week certainly did not help the players' cause against the Mamelukes. So Granada might actually struggle in that war unless they're able to find some player allies. Maybe Naples and Granada can come to terms. What do you think?
I'd say I actually wanted to comment on the Mamluks being on top. Not even just from an AI perspective. If you look, they don't even have any loans. Um, yeah, Mamluks are actually going to be a force to be reckoned with. So maybe Granada will be pushed back. But I'm sorry, I didn't hear you a little bit. I was looking at Mamluks. I was impressed by the AI. They don't usually do well.
Not a problem. I was wondering if we see Granada looking to work with a Naples or maybe the Knights against Morocco and the other North Africans, or do you think Granada's going to continue going at it alone?
I'm not sure. I think it's all up to the Europeans. If the Europeans wish to help him, then he'll probably work with them. But if they don't wish to help him, then I don't see what his choice is.
And rotating back to the center of Europe, we have a few new tags on the map here. Netherlands being one earlier in the session, Hanover and Prussia as well. Prussia getting a lucky PU over Hungary. What are your thoughts on the triple Bs? We may have to come up with a new name for them with all these tag swaps.
Peanut butter, honeys, and bananas. I say that's pretty nice, and that tag switch to get rid of the coalitions was very clever. I didn't know you could do that. Um, Bavaria has grown very strong. They are the strongest economy, which I didn't see coming. A Bavaria of all nations becoming the strongest economy? What?
I am as surprised as you, but when you take a closer look at the map mode, you've got a lot of those free cities which have high development that
Such
Bavaria
as
was able to chew up, and then a decent amount of farmlands in that area, grassland and farmlands, as opposed to North Germany, mainly woodlands. So Devon's been a little bit cheaper, but Bavaria, quite a strong player right now.
Not only that, if you look at his country, his edicts, everything has encouraged development.
That's one way to make sure you're maximizing your Diplo points. If you take a look at Hanover as well, you might see something similar.
Yeah, we see Dev everywhere. My goodness, y'all are just trying to play that tall, aren't you?
You got to make sure you click the right button. You'll notice Hanover as well as Bavaria, similar idea groups, quality, quantity, economic, going for those reductions around development costs wherever possible, trying to maximize that land because Bavaria is surrounded, Hanover surrounded, Prussia still has a little bit of AI to carve into before they're forced to go into player wars, but looks like the German 3 or the Triple Bs are gonna have to start picking some player wars if they're looking to expand.
Especially with Prussia. You look Prussia sneaking all the way down, have that nice long border with Byzantium. That's what I like to see. Nice long borders that are a recipe for disaster.
One last topic. We're gonna shift over to India. Tough session for you, Kaiser, but Gujarat. Oh my goodness. They are looking strong.
Yeah, Gujarat is in a very strong position. They got nice stuff in the bank. They got nice production. They, if you're counting their vassal growth, they've grown by over 700 dev, which I count vassal growth. So they got Multan up here. They're gonna be able to integrate that and then get Rajputania, and maybe they need a couple other provinces. I'm not all too familiar with Rajputania. Then they got Bejapur with these cores down here, and not cores. Never mind. Not here cores. But yeah, Balmanis is dying. VJ's dying. He already beat up Delhi once, although a little bit too late to save me. He's beaten up Malwa. He's got no competition in India. Looks like it's going to solidify in his favor, and he's going to go grow very strong.
It'll be interesting to see. There is a Persian player preventing a little bit of expansion that way. We do have Ethiopia. Is it too little too late to slow that guy down?
Yes,
Or,
most definitely.
yeah,
I'd say most definitely.
you think we're going to have a steamroll in Indian pretty soon?
More than Hindustan, yeah. Definitely more than Hindustan. We're going to see probably the strongest India. Well, I've seen. Um, Ethiopia can't do much unless they decide to build up a huge navy with. But even then, Gujarat's just gonna have so many numbers and stuff. They're probably gonna have a bigger navy anyway. Persia over here, they came in a little bit late, so they weren't able to solidify all their stuff. Maybe if they had been a player from the beginning, they'd be able to solidify, or maybe just a player from the session before. Or even if we just had players in India to contest this land, we'd have Gujarat not looking so strong. But I think we got a Gujarat in a great position. That guy's played very well, fighting lots of coalitions. Um, yeah, it's looking pretty good for Gujarat. Can't
Last
say the
week,
same about.
last week it was a little bit quiet overall. Not a ton of player wars. There was a tiny one between Milan and the Pope. Um, I can't really think of too many others. What do you think this coming week has in store for us with regards to player wars?
With regards to player wars, I can't say too much about Europe because I've been kind of isolated over here in India. Now that I can actually see Europe from India now, I'll be able to have better comments on that. But Byzantium in the west, I'd say probably a few wars there. Either that or Byzantium in the east. I feel like Byzantium's getting boxed in a little bit here. They're gonna have to punch. They were kind of salty, but I don't know, salty. That might be too extreme. They didn't like Hungary being PU'd by Prussia. I'll put it that way. And then
No, I can't believe that they did.
and then you see Byzantium snaking all along. That's a big, long Georgian Byzantine border. Why Byzantium hasn't fixed that, I don't know. But we might see that next session. But yeah, I'd say that we see a lot of Eastern contention in Europe, and possibly some British Isles contention, or New World maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, from my perspective, I'm interested to see. We still have an AI powerhouse in France left that's got to be taken down. There's a little bit of carving up of Lithuania to be done, but looks like we'll be discussing quite a few player conflicts next week. Any final thoughts?
I think that's it.
Thanks, folks, and tune in next week to see just what changes occurred.